What's going on, guys? We are back at it again with another episode of Convos with Dr. Andy. Andy seemed to be balding today. I don't really know what's happening. I don't see his hair anymore, but we are back at it again. And, maybe it's just a hairline. I don't really know. But I do know that today we're going to talk about something that probably none of y'all expected us to talk about. None of y'all coming on here like, oh, they're gonna cover this topic. And that is acid reflux. Now, I want to kind of start off and ask you, Andy, why the hell does acid reflux matter to the average individual that doesn't cough themselves into oblivion when they're eating or drinking?
Such as yourself, right, James?
No, not me, never me.
Yeah,
I am
never.
perfect.
Well, first, man, dude, thanks. Yeah, just got a fresh cut, buddy. Glad you saw that as my receding hairline.
Yeah, I on second, on second look, I think that it's just a nice taper, right? But it looked
Okay.
bald for a second on the side because I was like, where's that hair? But here we are.
It's probably my camera quality that
That
you missed it.
too. Yeah, everyone comment below wherever you're watching this how bad Andy's camera sucks, because when I edit these, it is atrocious and it makes our clips teeny. But go ahead, acid reflux.
Yeah. All right. So why does it matter for the average person? Um, so the reason I wanted to kind of bring this topic up is because I've been seeing a lot of this show up for the last, realistically, the last 8 to 9 months or so in my office. So a bunch of people that have either, just started getting it or have had it for a long time and been dealing with it, whether medications or just, with just suffering through it. So I kind of wanted to hop on here and explain a little bit more about like what it is and some easy things that you can do to potentially, get rid of it if you have it without going down any kind of expensive pharmaceutical route that might have you on something for the rest of your life.
Heck yeah. Okay, so give me kind of a background what acid reflux is in general, and then what's the prevalence? Like, is it 2 in 10? Is it 8 in 10? Is it 5 in 10? What kind of prevalence are we talking about?
Prevalence. I mean, at my office, I would probably say that at least 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 probably that have it. But at least 1 out of 10 kind of come in and at least have a variation of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that I've kind of noticed. And just a little bit about basically what it is. So acid reflux, aka heartburn, is
Good
where
distinction. Good distinction there.
yeah, those are synonymous. So what that is so the stomach generates, one of the things that it generates is acid, and there's many different forms of these acids, but we'll keep it base and just say, hey, it's acid. So the stomach generates acid when it's time to eat or when you drink something, so in order to start breaking down the food and digesting it. If the door or the valve between the stomach and your throat, also known as the esophagus, right? So you swallow your food, it goes down your throat, called the esophagus, empties into the stomach. If that doorway between the esophagus and the stomach does not close, then sometimes if the stomach gets too full, because it does have to churn the food around, that acid splashes back up into the throat or esophagus, and you get that like that. Heartburn's like a pretty perfect example or analogy as far as what people feel.
Okay. And so you mentioned, you wanted to give an understanding of this, and you wanted to maybe talk about some things about it so that people don't have to be on pharmaceuticals forever. I mean, is there a big reason why someone wouldn't want to just take Prilosec OTC for this?
Wouldn't want to. I mean, there's always a risk of adverse side effects with any kind of synthetic medication. And now, I don't think medications myself. I try not to. I'm not anti-medication, but I also don't like to put Band-Aids. James, your analogy you've told me before is I don't like to put Band-Aids over bullet holes, right? So, taking a medication for something like acid reflux is just a Band-Aid. You're not actually fixing the problem. And we'll go into the problem in a little bit, but just because the sequela or the consequences down the road of just putting a Band-Aid over that bullet hole, right? Or in this case, putting a piece of tape over the gas light in your car when your gas gets low, right? Instead of just filling your gas tank up, fixing the problem, you just put a piece of tape over it so you don't see it. Eventually you're going to run into problems if you don't address it. So if people just take medications to knock away the symptom of acid reflux, then there could be consequences down the road. And I see a lot, not to get into the nitty gritty science of it, but I see a lot of issues with, poor digestion and ingestion, or even intestinal issues, along with gallbladder and liver. Because when you inhibit one organ's ability to do its job, other tissues have to make up for that lack of work,
Mhm.
essentially, and that can lead to a domino effect of stuff happening down the road, potentially.
Okay. So you're not advocating though that if someone has acid reflux right now to not alleviate the pain.
So I'm not telling people to get off medications that are currently on medications.
Okay.
So what I'm probably advocating for is like having an understanding of what acid reflux really is, and then potential ways that can easily, if this is truly the reason why they have it, can help them. So I kind of want to go into like what acid reflux, like the two primary reasons why that I see people have acid reflux.
Okay.
And why it might be a little bit overdiagnosed, or not overdiagnosed, but overprescribed for medication. So the two most simple ways that somebody can develop heartburn or acid reflux is low stomach acid, so you just don't have enough, or the acid in your stomach isn't strong enough. So I think most people can understand that we have acids and we have bases. So acids are, just think of an acid that dissolves things, right? A base is kind of counter of an acid. And then if you come right in the middle, right, that's neutral. And water is exactly neutral. So anyway, in the body, how it's simplified, how it works is when stomach acid gets increased in the stomach, the amount, and usually these go two and two, or hand in hand, or the acid starts to get strong enough, meaning it gets more acidic, getting ready to break down food. The stomach will actually send a signal to the brain to say, hey, it's feeding time. The brain will send a signal down to the throat or the esophagus to tell the door to close. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of make sense? And James, you had an analogy for this earlier that made good sense. I'm going to have you kind of describe that in a minute, but essentially, so most people out there that I've found in my clinic without blood work, okay, so I can't verify this with like any kind of blood work, but I've had them get better results just based on the remedy that I had them do, which is super simple, but is they've either had not enough stomach acid to begin with, or their stomach acid wasn't strong enough to break down food. So that signal never gets sent to the brain then send the signal down to the throat to shut the door to prevent acid from splashing up into the throat.
Yeah. But how does someone actually get there? Like, how does that develop? Is that genetics? Is that something to do with lifestyle that we're missing? Like, how do people get to a place where they're in either of those situations?
The easiest thing that I see is dehydration. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's, I mean, barring any kind of genetic predisposition, right? Let's just take you and I, for example. If neither of us have acid reflux, right? Kind of more apt on our water intake. So if we just took ourselves and we, didn't drink enough water, we became dehydrated, and we just tried to eat food, or we didn't, we tried to eat food and whatnot, we would probably develop heartburn or acid reflux somewhere down the line. Okay. So, I see dehydration as a primary factor because your body takes the water, and hydrochloric acid, the acronym, I guess, for that, or the elements involved in that are hydrogen and chlorine. So HCl, the body makes HCl, that acid, from water to make acid. So if you don't have enough water, you can't make enough acid, right? So you can't break down food. So that's the first way that I see that kind of breaking down for people. The other thing too with
wait, time out. Let me interrupt you. Is that something that has to do with potentially when people have like how, I guess, and this might be a little off topic, but with someone that has acid reflux, how does that then, and I know that there's other psychological components to this, but how does that then go to like bulimia?
Meaning how does acid reflux lead to bulimia?
Or how are they interrelated? Not that it's causal, but are they interrelated?
I mean, they can be. So like bulimia is regurgitating or throwing up food, right? So acid is going to be from the stomach, going to be encapsulated with the food and the bile, right? That they're, digesting the food in their stomach with. If they throw that up, that's going to be constantly traveling back and forth. Well, not back and forth, but up the throat. Out. So they can develop sores in their mouth. They can develop sores all along their esophagus because they're exposing their lining of tissues that are not meant to handle acid to acid. So somebody who has acid reflux, I don't really see a direct correlation with like, oh, you have acid reflux or heartburn, you're going to develop bulimia. But somebody who, is a bulimic, unfortunately, can have results and symptoms similar to someone who does have heartburn because they've probably eroded the door between or damaged it, made it dysfunctional between the stomach and the throat. So somebody who was bulimic or is bulimic can potentially have more predisposition to acid reflux.
Okay, but someone that is bulimic doesn't automatically mean that they have acid reflux. There's just a higher likelihood.
Because acid reflux is an involuntary action of stomach going back up through the esophagus. Bulimia would be the volitional act.
Got it. Okay.
Go back up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just something that came to my mind. I'm like, somebody out there is probably going to have a similar question, like how are they related? And I know, and that's why I prefaced with, hey, there's psychological other things going on, right? That obviously cause the intentional act of. Okay, so I get that, but I'm just curious. I would assume I would have to assume, just sitting in my corner over here, that somebody that is bulimic or has been, just like you said, has probably struggled with some sort of the effects of acid reflux as well. I think that'd be logical.
That'd be fair. I mean, yeah, that'd be fair to say. So it's two different means to get the same end. So they're both going to have damage in their esophagus, if not, other tissues, because acid flowing back up through, the throat and the mouth, the areas where you should not have acid be. Acid reflux would be involuntary versus bulimia being voluntary. So they're both, I can see them both experiencing similar symptoms. Bulimia having maybe a potential little bit slightly different because the course of the trajectory of the emulsified food is going to be further, so to speak.
Got it. And when you say they have similar ends, you're talking about to the damage of the esophagus?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. You can go back where you were going. I was like, whoa, let me not let this thought go away.
No, that was good. So I helped me kind of find my retrain of thought there, because I'm
So you were talking about the door, right? You were talking about the damage, right? The overall damage that comes from that. And we've gone into, hey, why wouldn't you take medication for it? Hey, is it bad to take medication for it? And then also, how does someone get there, right? How does someone legitimately get to a place where then they have, outside of genetic predisposition, where they have acid reflux? And we were on the hydration.
Yeah. Yep. So dehydration, the biggest and the easiest thing that I've found has helped people is just get hydrated. So, and we won't go into this on this podcast, but easiest thing to do is, it sounds obvious, drink water, right? And there's various sources and filtrations of water, some better than others. So I just simplistically, if you're drinking filtered water, that's better than drinking tap water, in my honest opinion. But there can
You don't
be
want to drink birth control in your water? Come on, buddy. You don't want more estrogen? Come on, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fat storage. Antibiotics, all that stuff. So filtered water, right? Foremost, super simple. You can add some things into your water. Like, I love adding lemons, limes, fresh citric acid foods.
That not going to take the enamel off your teeth? By just
That,
drinking
not
that
mine.
shit all day?
That's what you drink with a straw. Anyway, so or somebody has low, or the acid in their stomach is not strong enough. So this could have a lot of factors to it. Genetic, of course, playing one of them. I've read, I've not seen this, so I have no, ability to test for this in my clinic practice, and I'm not trained in this, but I've read literature that states that, a lot of people that primarily suffer with issues with not strong enough acid is they either drink too much while they're eating, or what's called wet eating, right, versus dry eating. And so, or they have a comorbidity such as they have more fat than they do lean muscle, in the sense that, their pancreas really struggles to produce enzymes that feed the stomach to help break down the foods, not just proteins, but carbs and fats as well. So that mixture, that concoction all in there, if that's not strong enough, the brain doesn't get the signal, can't shut the door, and you have acid reflux, just like you would if you didn't have a literal enough quantity. So you can think of it as in like quantity and quality amounts. So you need to have enough quantity of acid. You also need to have enough, or a strong enough acid quality as well. So hydration, and then, we can go into living a healthier lifestyle, and we already have another podcast, but that definitely helps the body kind of self-heal. But electrolytes are also huge. And I know we talked a little bit about this before we hopped on, but James Gillespie, yeah, you mean that look. So I love the two electrolytes that I choose to use myself.
Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of them is called, this is not a plug, I get nothing for this. But one of them is called Key Nutrients electrolytes. And then the other one is called Element, or LMNT electrolytes. So
that's spelled out, guys. LMNT. Lima, Mike, Nancy, Tom.
Yeah. So those two are primarily the ones that I use. I know there's a bunch of probably good ones on the market. The one I would definitely kind of have a stigma against, and James giving me a smirk here, but is liquid IVs, just because the first three ingredients in them are sugars. And so most of us do not need to be adding in more sugar into our diets, especially if you're somebody who is of, your stomach acid is not strong enough, because you send sugar into your system, your pancreas is already overstimulated or exhausted, and you spike up your insulin demand, which comes from your pancreas, and that can wreak havoc. So now another thing that y'all can do that I've had people give a shot with, along with hydrating to help their stomach acid, is to have them stop drinking fluids, all kinds of fluids, minutes to 30 minutes prior to eating.
It cut out.
15 minutes.
How many minutes before?
So cut out drinking 15 to 30 minutes before you eat.
Okay. And
then cut out, or don't drink again until 15 minutes to 30 minutes after you eat. So that dry period, and that's what they call dry eating. That's helped. It's tough. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, don't be going into the meal thinking I'm going to eat wafers, crackers, or Ritz crackers, right? Or dry toast. Okay. So, but just cutting that out to allow because water dilutes acid, right? So when I say hydrate, yes, you can drink when you're eating a meal, but if you're one of those that does have acid reflux, right? The water is going to dilute the acid, which is going to decrease it's going to decrease the quality. It's going to make the acid more neutral, not strong enough. So if you're one of those that suffers having that window of not drinking during your eating period, I've found success with clients. Another thing that I wanted to mention that I think everybody loves, and they're probably going to hate to hear this, but carbonated beverages, whether it's just sparkling water or a soda and everything in between, carbonation decreases your acid production by your stomach automatically, without question. There's no what if. That's carbonation. CO2 decreases your stomach's output of acid. So I know some of you guys might hate to hear that, right? I know a lot of my clients, and even just a lot of my friends that I've told that to, don't like to hear that. But if you're one of those that loves to drink carbonated beverages and you suffer from this, I would take that away immediately to help, unless you want to keep putting the Band-Aid over the bullet hole or the tape over the gaslight.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that drinks carbonated beverages all the time and doesn't have any acid reflux, is 230 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal? What would you say to that person?
Just wait. Just wait till you're 34.
We'll see, Dr. Andy. We'll see. See. I am stronger, not than any man, but stronger than I used to be.
Because of this carbonated beverages.
No, that's just something I enjoy. Okay, let me be. No, I think that these are solid recommendations, and I think for the majority of people, it's not an all or nothing, right? I think that most people, if you have acid reflux, there's probably a handful of things that are going on. One, you're probably still drinking a ton of carbonated beverages. Two, you're not drinking a lot of just plain water. Three, you're not ingesting enough potassium or sodium or taking any magnesium in. Like you're probably also not eating leafy and green veggies. Right? There's probably a lot of things that are going on that are putting you in a position where you're more susceptible. Right. And then you think like, oh shit, I got to get in here and I got to drink some liquid IV. Well, like that's cool if you're out doing 10Ks. That's cool if you're doing 3 hour, 3 hour, 90-minute sessions of high intensity interval training in CrossFit. Like that's cool. And I advocate for that all day. But most people that are going out and getting a 30-minute walk, you ain't got any business doing that. You ain't got any business for the rest of your day. You're sitting at the desk. You can't be serious, right? You can't be serious. So we need to be more hydrated. We need to, I think that the dry eating, I've never heard of that. That sounds super difficult. And I don't even have a problem with this, but that sounds super difficult because I always have something there. Not that I'm like chugging, right? But I don't think I couldn't tell you the last time that I ate a meal without liquid there, even just like literally just water.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
It's difficult. I did it once just to, I couldn't I guess tell a client to do something that I hadn't tried before, so I gave it a shot. It is tough, and I chose like the hardest thing to do with, without a beverage, which was I think I had a steak or some type of red meat, and gosh, I mean I couldn't finish, whatever 6-ounce ad. So yeah, and that's a good point. That is difficult, right? But it kind of puts you in this window of, or in this lane of like, well, I better get my drinking in outside these hours or outside of this period. And so it almost kind of forces you to kind of keep a mind's eye on your hydration.
Yeah.
Because if you only eat and drink together at localized times, then
you're dehydrated, period.
Yeah.
There's no
way.
Yeah,
exactly. Because it's just like, think of a good analogy would be like training. Okay, we have 1 hour to get everything in, and you're trying to compete for the Olympics. That's just not possible. You just can't get everything in that time. Something's going to fall to the wayside. So when you try to eat everything and drink all you can during a meal, guess what? We only absorb about 30 to 40% of what we eat maximal anyway. And if you try to get all that at once, you're asking too much of your body to do what you expect it to do.
Yeah.
So
to kick it into overdrive with the NOS on, right? Twice a day.
Yeah. So I would definitely recommend like easy 2 things that people can start implementing today if they're listening to this and they want to, give it a shot, is 1, reduce, maybe not cold turkey it, but reduce the amount of carbonated beverages that you're drinking. Right? Like let's say you have, if you have 1 a day, maybe knock it back to every other day. Right? And then add water. So just start drinking water.
Yeah.
A lot of times people get these water bottles that have these time markers on it, like 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., all the way down.
Like the big jugs you're talking about? Like, hey.
Yeah, those big jugs.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have that, but I know a lot of people that do, and it works really well, and I like that. So just get more water in and just reduce the amount of carbonated beverages that you're putting in your body. The dry eating period, you can give that a shot, but, I would start with those 2 simple things first.
Boom. That's it. And that's all we've got on acid reflux. Thank you for 24 minutes of your time. I hope that this did not offend you. There's some places where you could take us out of context, but we appreciate you being here. And if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, please don't hesitate. DMs, email. Just don't send Andy any communications. He's not on social. Send them to me or comment them on YouTube.
I'm on Facebook now, James.
He gets tagged in Facebook things. He doesn't actively participate, but we're happy that he's here, at least here. If y'all do legitimately have anything that you want to hear about, or you want us to cover, you want us to unpack, or something controversial that you disagree with, like, let's go, baby. All ears, all day. Let's go. All Pro 90. Anyways, this is going to go out every single week. Still on Wednesday. Wednesday is our day. That is Convos with Dr. Andy every single Wednesday. Time. I'm playing with the time of release based on how many people are going to see it. Right. Still going to go out on Wednesdays no matter what. But just a heads up, I'll be shifting that around. Y'all will stay updated. And we appreciate your attention. Thank you much.